Well, it's getting cold out there, and so that's why I'm wearing this nice, comfortable fleece. Welcome back to At Home with Music. Today we're taking a musical sleigh ride, as it were, through the hidden stories, some not so hidden, the stories behind some of the most beloved Christmas carols and songs ever written. I mean, some of these songs began with broken instruments. Some of them weren't even meant for Christmas at all. So I'd like to share these backstories and along the way, maybe play a little bit, just so you can hear these songs in a whole new light. Let's start with a carol that began with an unexpected Christmas Eve problem. In 1818, the little church in Oberndorf, Austria faced a dilemma. Their organ had stopped working, possibly thanks to mice chewing through the bellows. Now, I know in a lot of churches today they don't use organs anymore, but this was important in 1818. And with Christmas Eve just hours away, the young priest Joseph Moore turned to a poem he'd written and asked Franz Gruber, the village schoolteacher, to set it to music for guitar instead. And they performed it that evening. 2 voices, 1 guitar, and a carol that would circle the globe. It's amazing what can come when you're improvising under pressure. Here's a song that doesn't mention Jesus directly. It doesn't mention shepherds, angels, or a manger, or Joseph, or Mary. Isaac Watts wrote this poem in 1719 as a paraphrase of Psalm 98, which is a celebration of God's kingship. So here's a few selected verses from this psalm, which I would encourage you to go back and read the whole thing. But see if these verses remind you of something that Watts had written. Let the whole earth shout to the Lord. Be jubilant, shout for joy, and sing. Now, what does that remind you of? Well, joy to the world. Sing to the Lord with the lyre and melodious song, with trumpets and the blast of the ram's horn. Shout triumphantly in the presence of the Lord our King. So, loud music wasn't invented in the 20th century. But doesn't this remind you of the line, let earth receive her King? And going on to verse 7 of this psalm, let the sea and all that fills it, the world and those who live in it, resound. Let the rivers clap their hands. Let the mountains shout together for joy before the Lord. For he is coming to judge the earth. He will judge the world righteously and the peoples fairly. So, what does this sound like? Well, obviously this inspired Isaac Watts to write, he rules the world with truth and grace and makes the nations prove the glories of his righteousness and the wonders of his love. So this is a hymn or a poem about the second coming of Christ. And so he wrote this in 1719, and then a century later, a fellow by the name of Lowell Mason paired it with a tune inspired by the music of Handel. And then it became a Christmas standard. Now, this next famous song gives great singers a chance to show off because there's some great climactic high notes in there. It's a gorgeous, soaring, emotional song, but it caused something of a scandal. The lyrics were written by a fellow by the name of Blaise Cappeau. He was a French poet who wasn't necessarily religious. Late in his life, he apostatized. He left the faith. He adopted views as a non-Christian that were definitely at odds with his fame as the author of this Christmas text. The music was composed by Adolphe Adam, who was known for operas and ballets, not necessarily church music. And when some church leaders found out about this, they tried to ban the song. You're not allowed to sing this one. But people kept singing it anyway. They kept singing "O Holy Night." I guess beauty has a way of winning. You recognize this little phrase? You probably hear that every year with new lyrics in commercials that come up every Christmas season, and I find these quite annoying. Now, originally, this wasn't a Christmas idea at all. It was originally based on a Ukrainian New Year's song called Shydrik. I may not be pronouncing that right, but it was composed by Mykola Leontovich around 1916. The English lyrics were added by a fellow named Peter Wilhowsky in 1936. He took this melody and added new lyrics and arranged it for the NBC Radio Network's Symphony Orchestra. And the lyrics are centered around the theme of bells, hark how the bells, because the melody reminded him of handbells. So you got hark how the bells, sweet silver bells, blah, blah, blah. I shouldn't say blah, blah, blah. But anyway, the song has been recorded in over 150 versions across very many different musical styles. Charles Wesley wrote the lyrics to this famous Christmas carol in the 1700s, and his preference was that this hymn should be sung with a very slow and solemn tune, which I don't know if we have that original tune that he wanted. So a century later, someone paired it with a melody adapted from the music of Felix Mendelssohn, who would have approved since he actively embraced religious texts and wrote some of the most beloved sacred music of the 19th century. He was a devout Christian man. And so now you've got Wesley, the poet, and Mendelssohn, the composer, and the song that they kind of wrote together is one of the most triumphant carols ever sung. Of course, this is the one that the children sing at the end of A Charlie Brown Christmas, and they start out by singing "Loo, loo, loo, loo." Have you ever sang "Fa la 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 la" and the tune that goes along with it? Of course, all you have to do is play, and everybody knows what song you're playing. But it originally comes from Nos Galen, a Welsh New Year's dance tune from the 1500s. The original lyrics weren't about Christmas at all, but they were about love and winter merriment. The English Christmas lyrics came much later, during the Victorian era. They were written by the Scottish musician Thomas Oliphant. Not Thomas Elephant, but Oliphant, something like that. They first appeared in 1862 in Volume 2 of Welsh Melodies, a set of 4 volumes authored by John Thomas, including Welsh words by somebody named John Jones, and then the English words by Oliphant. It's interesting, if you read the original English lyrics without, I'm going to read them to you without the fa-la-las. See if you can catch the differences. Deck the hall with boughs of holly. 'Tis the season to be jolly. Fill the mead cup. Drain the barrel. Troll the ancient Yuletide carol. You're thinking, troll? What's that mean? Well, troll means to sing a song freely, in a carefree way, or loudly. It's not just referring to some scary being who lives under a bridge. So anyway, see the flowing bowl before us. Strike the harp and join in chorus. Follow me in merry measure while I sing of beauty's treasure. So some of these words might be familiar, but some of them are like, what's this all about? Fast away the old year passes. Hail the new, ye lads and lasses. Laughing, quaffing all together, heedless of the wind and weather. What's quaffing? Well, that's drinking a lot. In fact, there seems to be a lot of drinking in the original lyrics. So whenever you sing Deck the Halls, that's actually a medieval dance tune disguised as a Christmas carol. And you know, Christmas music, it just has a way of connecting generations. Some of these songs are hundreds of years old, but they are still being sung around the world in the days leading up to Christmas, even though some of them weren't originally meant for Christmas at all. But together, these songs and many others, they form a soundtrack that brings so much warmth, kind of like this fleece, comfort, and joy to this time of year. So I'd like to come back with some more stories behind these famous Christmas songs. And if you enjoyed this brief look at the backstories to these famous songs, well, feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share your favorite carol in the comments. Somewhere on the screen here, you can click and see some other Christmas-related videos of mine that I hope you can enjoy. So thanks for spending this musical moment with me. Merry Christmas to you all, and I look forward to speaking to you in the next one.